My aunt stood at the front of the funeral home with the will in her hands. Her voice was loud, confident. To my daughter Rebecca, $2.3 million. Rebecca smiled. To my son Daniel, $2.3 million plus the properties in Boston and Maine. My uncle nodded like he'd earned it. And to my granddaughter Claire. That's me. Everyone turned. One first-class plane ticket to Monaco. Silence, then laughter. My cousin Rebecca actually snorted. A plane ticket? That's it? My uncle shook his head. Poor kid. They thought it was a joke, a mistake, maybe even an insult. I sat there in the back row and said nothing. Because here's what they didn't know. That ticket wasn't a gift, it was a key, and it was about to unlock something that would make every single one of them very, very sorry. Where are you watching from? And what time is it there? Drop it in the comments, and hit that like button. You're going to want to see how this ends. Let me back up. My parents were always traveling. Business, they said. I was raised by nannies and drivers. The only person who actually saw me was my grandfather. Every summer I'd stay with him at his house in Connecticut. We'd sit in his study for hours. He taught me about art, about languages, about how money really works. He spoke French, Italian, and German. So I learned them too. My family thought I was weird, too quiet, too bookish. She's not like us, my aunt used to say. She didn't mean it as a compliment. My cousins were loud, flashy. They posted everything online. New cars, designer bags, vacation countdowns. I kept my head down and took notes. Grandfather noticed. The loudest voices, he told me once, rarely hold the real power. He also taught me to document everything, every email, every letter, every receipt. You never know when you'll need proof, he said. 3 weeks before he died, we had breakfast. He looked tired but calm. When the time comes, he said, trust the journey, not the destination. I didn't understand. I do now. My family never included me in the real business. I was the spare, the odd one out. I should have known the will reading would be a performance, but I wasn't ready for how cruel it would feel. After the reading, my aunt cornered me in the hallway. She put her hand on my shoulder. Fake sympathy. Sweetheart, I know this must be hard. That ticket is sweet, but it's not exactly practical, is it? I didn't answer. I'll give you $10,000 for it. Cash. Today. That's more than generous. I'm not selling it, I said. Her smile disappeared. My uncle stepped in. His voice was sharp. Don't be stupid, Claire. It's a one-way ticket. He probably got confused at the end. Forgot to finish the paperwork. My cousin Rebecca leaned against the wall, scrolling her phone. Or maybe he finally realized you were never really one of us. That one hurt. I kept my face blank. I'd like to see the full will, I said. Not just the summary. My aunt's eyes narrowed. That's private. Family business. I am family. You got what you got, my uncle said. Don't push it. The estate lawyer stood in the corner, silent. He wouldn't even look at me. My aunt's voice dropped. Sweet again. Dangerous. That ticket expires in 9 days, Claire. Use it or lose it. Either way, you're out. She walked away. I stood there alone in the hallway. The countdown had started. I went home to my apartment that night. It was small. 1 bedroom. I'd been able to afford it because of the monthly checks my grandfather sent. Those checks had stopped. My savings account, $4,000. I pulled the plane ticket out of my bag and looked at it under the light. First class. JFK to Nice. Departure in 6 days. Return open. No hotel reservation. No itinerary. Just the ticket and a handwritten note clipped to it. 1 word. Go. That was it. I searched for his estate online. The properties were already being listed. The cars were in auction. Everything was moving fast. I called the estate lawyer. No answer. I left 2 messages. Nothing. I sat on my floor and felt the weight of it. Maybe they were right. Maybe I didn't matter to him. Maybe the ticket was just an afterthought. A consolation prize for the grandkid who didn't fit in. I felt like I was drowning. But then I remembered something. My grandfather never did anything without a reason. Never. If he left me a ticket, there was a purpose. I had 6 days to figure out what it was. I pulled out every letter he'd ever sent me and started reading. I went through every birthday card, every Christmas letter, every postcard he'd sent from his trips. And then I found it. 2 years ago. Tucked inside a card that said, Happy 23rd. A business card, cream-colored, embossed lettering. Ducasse and Fils, Private Wealth Management, Monaco. On the back, in his handwriting, "When you're ready." I stared at it. Then I Googled the firm, boutique, ultra high net worth clients only. Minimum portfolio to even get a meeting, $50 million. $50 million. My hands were shaking. I picked up my phone and dialed the number. A woman answered in French. I answered in French. My grandfather had made sure I was fluent. I gave her my name. There was a pause. Then she switched to English. "Miss Claire, we've been expecting you." I almost dropped the phone. "Expecting me?" "Yes, your grandfather left very specific instructions. When will you be arriving in Monaco?" I looked at the plane ticket on my desk. 6 days, I said. "Perfect. We'll have a car waiting at the airport in Nice. Welcome home." She hung up. I sat there in silence. What had my grandfather done? I made a mistake. I told my cousin I was going to use the ticket. I thought it would be safe. Casual. It wasn't. Within an hour, my aunt called. "Rebecca told me you're flying to Monaco." "For what? A vacation on your last dime?" She laughed. It wasn't kind. "You're really going to waste money you don't have on some trip?" I didn't answer. Then my uncle sent a text. "Our lawyers are filing a motion to block any side agreements or secondary distributions. If you think you're getting more, think again. We have the will. We have the estate. You have nothing." I read it 3 times. They were scared. They didn't know what I'd found, but they suspected something. An hour later, my cousin posted on Instagram a photo of me from the funeral. I looked tired. Sad. The caption, "Some people just can't let go. Sad." The comments piled up. Distant relatives I barely knew. She always was entitled. Grief makes people do crazy things. I was being painted as the desperate one, the grasping outsider who couldn't accept reality. My phone buzzed all night. I turned it off. The flight left in 4 days. I had to move fast, and I had to be smart. Because now they were watching. Before I left, I visited someone, my grandfather's oldest friend, a retired attorney named Mr. Pearson. He hadn't been involved in the estate. He'd stayed out of it on purpose. I sat in his living room and asked him directly, "Did my grandfather have assets outside the United States?" He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me, sad, knowing. Then he got up, walked to his desk, and pulled out a sealed envelope. He slid it across the table. "He told me to give you this if you ever ask the right question." My hands were shaking when I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper, a letter, in my grandfather's handwriting. "My dearest Claire, you are the only one who loved me for who I was, not what I had. The estate here will feed the wolves. Let them have it. Monaco holds what matters. Trust Ducasse. Trust yourself. Oh, my love." It was dated 3 months before he died. He'd planned this, all of it. The ticket, the firm, the silence. He knew exactly what my family would do, and he'd built me an escape hatch. I folded the letter and put it in my bag. "Thank you," I said. Mr. Pearson nodded. "He was proud of you, Claire. Don't let them take that." I boarded the plane the next morning. I didn't tell anyone. On the flight, I did what my grandfather taught me. I researched. I had 7 hours in Wi-Fi at 30,000 feet. I pulled up public records, court filings, business registrations. My uncle's real estate development company, $8.7 million in liens and unpaid contractor claims. My aunt's consulting firm, dissolved 6 months ago for unpaid taxes. My cousin Rebecca's Instagram showed designer bags and beach clubs. Her credit report, which my grandfather had once shown me how to access through public databases, told a different story. 2 car repossessions, 1 eviction, a default judgment for $32,000. They didn't just want the estate money. They needed it. Desperately. The millions from the will weren't a windfall. They were a life raft, and in their minds, I didn't deserve a spot on it. I wasn't part of their world. I hadn't posted the right photos or said the right things, so when the will was read and I got a plane ticket, they saw it as justice, proof that even my grandfather knew I didn't belong. I closed my laptop. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. The plane began its descent into Nice. A car was waiting. Just like she'd said. The Ducasse and Phil's office sat on a hill overlooking the Monaco harbor. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, quiet. A man in his 60s met me at the door. "Miss Claire, I'm Philippe Ducasse. Your grandfather was a dear friend and client for over 30 years. He led me to a private conference room. On the table was a leather portfolio. He opened it carefully. Your grandfather moved the majority of his wealth to Monaco in 2019. He was very deliberate, very thorough. He walked me through it. Account summaries, property deeds, art held in trust. I saw numbers I couldn't process. He didn't rush me. After an hour, he folded his hands and looked at me. Miss Claire, what would you like to do? I thought about the letter. I thought about my family laughing at the funeral. I thought about my grandfather's voice. Real power doesn't announce itself. I met Philippe's eyes. I want to honor his wishes exactly as he wrote them. And I want documentation of everything. Ironclad. Legal in both jurisdictions. Philippe smiled. It was kind, respectful. Your grandfather said you'd say that. Everything is already prepared. We've been waiting for you to arrive and give the word. He slid a folder across the table. Welcome home, Miss Claire. 2 weeks later, I was back in the United States. My family had already started spending. My aunt bought a new Mercedes. My cousin posted photos from the Maldives. Living my best life, the caption said. My uncle closed on a condo in Miami. They thought they'd won. Then my attorney, retained with funds from Monaco, filed a notice with the estate court. We weren't contesting the will. We were simply registering the existence of foreign assets under international estate law. It's required. It's public record. Within 2 hours, my uncle called. He was screaming. What the hell is this filing? What are you trying to pull? I didn't answer. My attorney sent a message instead. Meeting tomorrow. Estate lawyer's office. 10 a.m. attendance mandatory. I walked into that office the next morning with my attorney in a single folder. My aunt was already there. My uncle, my cousin, the estate lawyer. They all stared at me. I sat down. I didn't say anything. My attorney opened the folder and slid 3 photographs across the table. The first. Account statements from Ducasse and Fils. Balances visible. The second, a property deed. Villa in Monaco. Current valuation, 47 million euros. The third, trust documents. 12 pieces of art. Appraised value, $89 million. All of it in my name. Established in 2019. My aunt went white. My uncle started shouting. This is fraud! She forged this! There's no way. My attorney raised a hand. His voice was calm, professional. Everything was established legally in 2019, declared to the IRS, documented with U.S. and Monegasque authorities. Miss Claire's grandfather had every right to allocate his assets as he saw fit. The U.S. will govern his domestic estate. The Monaco Trust governed his foreign holdings. You received what the will specified. She received what the trust specified. The estate lawyer cleared his throat. I've reviewed the documents. They're legitimate. Silence. My cousin stared at the photos. Then she looked at me. He really hated us, didn't he? I shook my head. No, he just loved me more. I stood up. I took the photos back, and I walked out. The fallout was quiet. My uncle's attorneys reviewed everything, and confirmed there was no legal avenue to challenge it. They'd been paid from the estate. They had no stake in fighting. My aunt stopped calling. My cousin deleted the Instagram post. They kept the U.S. estate money, the houses, the cash distributions. I never contested it. My grandfather had planned it that way. Give them enough to survive, but not enough to waste. As for me, I spent a year in Monaco managing the transition. I sold the villa. It was beautiful, but it wasn't home. I kept 2 pieces from the art collection. The ones my grandfather and I used to sit in front of during those long summer afternoons. A Monet, a small Degas. The rest, I donated to a museum in his name. The foundation launched 6 months later. Scholarships for students in the arts. Kids who didn't fit the mold. The quiet ones. The observers. The ones my family would have overlooked. I used part of the trust to pay off my uncle's most urgent lien. Anonymously. Not because he deserved it, but because my grandfather taught me that wealth is a responsibility, not a weapon. I haven't spoken to my family in 2 years. I don't hate them. I just don't need them. My grandfather's last gift wasn't the money. It was the lesson. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg for a seat at the table. It simply knows its worth and acts accordingly. I think about him every day. The way he listened. The way he saw me when no one else did. The way he built something that would protect me long after he was gone. That's love. Not the loud kind. Not the kind that performs. The kind that plans. That teaches. That trusts you to be ready when the moment comes. So here's my question for you. If someone underestimated you, and you had the receipts to prove them wrong, would you go loud or stay quiet? Drop your answer in the comments. And hit subscribe if you believe that silence can be the loudest move you ever make. Remember, never mistake kindness for weakness. Sometimes the person who says the least is the one holding all the cards. This story is a fictionalized dramatization and is not legal or financial advice. Thanks for watching.